You're listening to Power Talk, Berkeley Electric Cooperative's official broadcast about the cooperative, our communities, and ways to use energy wisely. And now, let's join our hosts for today's episode. Hello, and welcome to Power Talk. I'm Micah Ponce, the communications guy with Berkeley Electric Cooperative. I am one of your hosts today, and as always, I am joined by Miss Libby Roerig, the marketing and communications manager for Berkeley Electric.
Thanks, Micah.
Well, today is a very special day for those folks who are watching and listening. We have Mr. Greg Habib, the mayor of Goose Creek, who is joining us today, and is very special because he is our first community partner to join us on our new platform. Welcome, sir.
I suppose I'm flattered. I don't understand why I would be the first community partner, and I'm not sure how special it is for your listeners that it's me, but I'm very happy to be here. I certainly appreciate the collaboration and cooperation we have between the city of Goose Creek and all your municipal partners. You guys do a great job, and we have a great relationship. So I'm happy to be here, and I appreciate it.
Well, and we'll get into the why in just a minute, but we want to talk a little bit about your background, Mayor. You've been serving the city of Goose Creek since 2018, and you're recently reelected. So,
I ran for council in 2016. I got elected to council in 2016, and that was my youngest son was graduating from high school. So what are you going to do now? Sure. As you're trying to find things. And I had served in other capacities in and around our community on different boards and the like. And a friend of mine was leaving the council. He was getting transferred by his bank up to the Myrtle Beach region, and we were talking, and he finally talked me into, or I asked about. I don't want to say he talked me into, but I was interested in serving. And so we ran for council in 2016 and won. And when you get in at that level, then you sort of see how the sausage is made. And I just felt like we could make better sausage more efficiently than we had been. Goose Creek is 47,000 people. We're the 8th largest city in South Carolina. Mm-hmm. And we need to operate to that level. And that's sort of the things that I learned as we got in there and really started to see how it was going. When I ran for council, I knew there were a couple of things that I wanted to focus on. I knew we needed economic growth. Residential growth was happening, all over, as it is everywhere in the Charleston area. And we were no different. Residential growth was happening, but I believe very strongly, and I believe math will bear me out correct, that if you're going to grow that residentially, you have to grow commercially.
Right. Yep.
That you have to have a proportionate amount of development, and we were lagging in economic development. So I ran for council knowing that we really needed to work on that. And the other thing I knew when I was running for council was accidents on 176 had increased 40% over the previous 4 years. So those are the two things that I really knew. And then you get in and you sit on council for a couple of years and you go, there's more to it than even I knew, and this is why we're lacking, and these are the things that are going on. Sure. So, decided to run for mayor. Really decided to get other people to run for mayor, and they all said no, and turned around to me and said, "You're running for mayor." And I went, "All right, well, I guess I am going to run for mayor." So that's what we did, and we've worked on those things and a few others since then. But,
well, you give me hope because I'm sort of becoming an empty nester, and I guess I'm going to be spraying my wings and looking for the next best thing. If this podcast thing doesn't work out, I might be, running for council somewhere.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'll start off small, planning commission, something,
Just take some advice you didn't ask for. Start playing golf or pickleball or go shoot pool or do something. This is not.
Pickleball is definitely where it's at, according to our marketing manager.
Yes, Eddie Plowden.
Eddie was very proud of the facility that we just built in the city of Goose Creek. Eddie came by at least a handful of times. I'd run in and see him, and I'm sure that he's played there several times since we opened it.
Yeah.
But I got here to Goose Creek in 1982, like so many other folks. My dad was in the Navy, and so that's how we ended up getting here. And the funny thing, you graduate from Goose Creek High School in the 80s, and you move away to go to college, which I did. You're never moving back to Goose Creek. You're like, what are you talking about? I'm not moving back there. Well, a circuitous route brought us back here and kept us here and had us build now a second home in Goose Creek and raised our kids in Goose Creek. And, there's a reason that we're still there and still trying to contribute and still trying to make it all that it can be. in 2019 or 2020, I think it was, Money Magazine came out with their list of the best places to live in South Carolina, and Goose Creek was the best place to live and live and raise a family in South Carolina. A whole lot of metrics go into that.
Yeah.
But Goose Creek is a great place to live and raise a family, and we're trying to make it a great place to live and shop and play and do all those other things so that we can meet more of our needs in our community. I hear a lot about traffic, and I recognize that it can be difficult at times. So, but if we give our residents, our citizens, more opportunity to meet more of their needs within our city, well, then I've improved your traffic or improved my traffic or whatever. So at least we're making that impact. So.
Yeah. So, Mayor, you mentioned you have a history of service, and your most recent service as mayor. And that's one of the things that the co-op is can relate to you. We have such a service mentality. One of our governing principles, if you don't know, is concern for community, and that comes in so many forms. But we basically just do what we can to make the lives better of the people who we serve. So, Goose Creek, here's the why we invited you on, is our largest district. We have 4 that we serve, Goose Creek, Allendale, Monk's Corner, and Johns Island. So, but Goose Creek makes up over half of our membership, and we have about 100,000 growing every day in our membership rolls, but Goose Creek is definitely a significant portion of that. And we've recently worked in the last few years to renovate and expand our office and just completed a covered storage project that our members probably aren't aware of, but it helps us more efficiently and safely. The guys get their equipment in the morning and get out and get the job that they need to get done. But Goose Creek is also one of our most diverse districts. We have lots of employees in our Goose Creek office are bilingual. They speak Spanish as well as English. So
and hopefully they're listening to our other radio show that we have on. We have actually a fully Spanish language radio show that we also do a video podcast and air on one of the local Spanish speaking radio stations, because we recognize, like Libby said, they're an important part of our membership as well. And so we need to reach out to them in the language that they can understand and get them the information that they need as well. And we also have a growing Brazilian and Filipino population down in that area as well.
Well, you moved to Goose Creek in 1982 and go to Goose Creek High School. It's 40%. I don't even know what the percentages were, but it's basically third white, third black, third Filipino. I mean, we were such a mix of cultures in growing up, and we still are. And I've spent the last many years. We were talking before about how hard I've worked to try to control our message and get the word out about what the city of Goose Creek is, because we have not done a good job of that historically. And again, 8th largest city in the state, we have an impact on our region, and our region impacts us, so we need to participate in that. And so, my 30-second elevator pitch, and my whole council can bring it back to you, they can recite it to you just as quickly, is that we're highly educated, highly diverse, high earning, and very young. That is our community.
Right. Yeah.
Goose Creek is not the perception that folks have of it. Our median income is second only to Mount Pleasant's in this area.
Oh, wow.
However, our age, we're 33 years old in the city of Goose Creek. Mount Pleasant's 40. So we're young and growing and doing well in those areas. We are incredibly diverse, not just with our growing Hispanic and Brazilian population, but with Filipino and African American and white, and everybody that have always called Goose Creek home.
Right. And
again, we have a growing Brazilian and Hispanic population, and we're hoping to leverage particularly that Brazilian population into some more culture in our city, business opportunity in our city. I'd love to see a Brazilian or an international street fair down on Red Bank Road one day. We block it all off and turn it into something really cool, and we want to do that by leveraging that community. So I try as hard as I can to share what Goose Creek is, so that, again, how do you get economic investment into your community is people have to know that there's a return. What's the ROI if I'm going to spend this in Goose Creek to get my money back? Well, we've continued to share that message about who we are and what we are, and it's working, so we're trying.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned a festival. Berkeley Electric loves participating in a Fall Fest and Kids Fest every year, and getting out to meet that diverse population.
I'm there every year
with a prize wheel.
Working the Fall Fest.
That's right. Yeah. No, we've had a great partnership with Berkeley Electric, in not only in our festivals, where we have sought sponsorship to help pay for all of those things and to give visibility to our partners. And it's worked very, very well. But obviously, and I think it's down the list, we'll talk about your participation in Central Creek Park.
Yeah, that's first up.
Which has been just significant. It has been transformational already to our city. I said it from the beginning that we wanted to do something that was long-lasting and transformational, and I believe certainly that we've done that. And just a little background. So, what used to be there was the Casey Community Center, and it was just had become old and dilapidated. And years ago, we looked into, all right, well, you don't just tear buildings down, right? You don't do that. They're expensive to build, so you don't just tear them down. And we were thinking ways to repurpose it and renovate it and do different things. And we got in, and the engineers are like,
right,
you just got to tear it down. There's a problem. Yeah. Okay, well, if we're going to tear it down, what are we going to do? So we spent some time and we collected funds and we kept going. And we had a plan for a $6.5 million park, and we have the money for a $6.5 million park. Well, cost escalated.
Yeah.
As you all know.
Oh yeah.
During the last inflation, not only just construction costs, material costs, there's so many projects going on right now. Listen, if I were a contractor, I'd be charging as much as I possibly could. Yeah. Because again, I recognize there are times when you take money just to keep your guys working. So when it's booming, it's booming. Yeah. Well, those costs escalated. Our park didn't change. The cost escalated to a little over $9 million. So we sought out. We were trying to. How are we going to cut? We're going to, And I finally said, listen, we're cutting, and you're only coming up with $600,000 or $700,000 or $800,000. You're not making a market difference. Build the park. We're going to build the park the way we expect to build the park, and that's what we're going to do, and we'll figure the rest out as we go. Now, we have some ARP money we're able to use. That's one of the reasons that those costs escalated, right? Is because the ARP money had been sent out to everywhere and all across the country, and every city had a project and all that. So we had some ARP money, but then we embarked on raising money. We'd never done this before in the city of Goose Creek. How do we increase our and it wasn't just about raising money, I should point out. How do we increase partnerships?
Sure.
Right? How do we increase collaboration with the business community in and around the city of Goose Creek? Well, this was our way to do that, and certainly we wanted to raise money. We got to, I don't remember what the final number was. It was almost $1.4 million, which was significant for the first time you go out on a campaign like that for a specific project to be able to do that. And our largest donor was Roper St. Francis Hospital System. And we were very proud to partner with them. But we had many others who did the same thing, including, and very importantly, Berkeley Electric Cooperative, who came in and partnered with us and putting their name on that park as well, along with the EV station that's there, and already having partnered with the EV station over at the city. But I was so encouraged by the response we got when we went out to seek those dollars, seek that support, seek that collaboration, that I don't remember if anybody said no.
Right.
I'm sure somebody did, but I don't remember anybody saying no.
Yeah.
And so it was just really gratifying, satisfying, surprisingly I was just overjoyed.
Yeah.
And again, the money is certainly one thing. It's knowing that we have those folks that will partner with us to do great things in our city. That was the bigger thing. Whether it's money or participating in events, right? We don't need money all the time, right? This we thought, let's do this. But now I know, and not that I couldn't before, I could always call Berkeley Electric and say, hey, we're doing this, come out and be a part of it. Well, now I got a list as long as my arm of people that I can call and say, hey, we're doing this, come out and be a part of it. And that just, that grows your community in the right way.
Yeah.
I talk about the only things I care about. Now, that's sort of short-sighted to say because, we've got to balance a budget and we've got to, do all of these things to make them happen. But what we want to do, what I've worked to do and our council's worked to do is to create as many opportunities for people in the city of Goose Creek to come together. Now, that sounds corny, I guess, or whatever. But
that's what a community is.
Well, and that's what community means. And I don't mean come together like kumbaya come together. I mean literally walk out of your house, get in your car or on your bike or put your sneakers on or your golf cart nowadays, right? And go to where other people are.
Yeah.
That is how you build community. Everybody talks to me about Goose Creek losing its small town feel. And I'm like, guys,
that's how you keep it.
Well, we got 100,000 cars a day that drive through the city of Goose Creek.
Right.
We ain't a small town.
I was about to say,
right?
Yeah. No, there are hardly any small towns in this area.
Yeah, small town went away a long time ago.
Yeah.
But, and again, it may be semantics, but I tell everybody we're not a small town anymore. But I do want it to feel like your hometown for the time that you live here.
Yeah.
And how do you do that? Well, you create events, you create opportunities for people to come together and get to know one another, and you make people proud to live in Goose Creek, and say, man, our rec department, our city, our community, we put on the best festivals, we put on the best things, we have a transformational park, for our kids to go and enjoy, and what's the next project that we're working on to create that opportunity?
Yeah. So. Yeah. And I live in Crowfield, so I'm a happy resident raising my family in Goose Creek. And I was at the Christmas tree lighting, and that was a huge event. Thousands of people were there. Mm-hmm. But I ran into my neighbors, several people that I knew that we didn't plan it, but they were just there enjoying it with their family. And it had I grew up in a small town in Walterboro, and it had that small town feel when you can go somewhere and run into people and it's not a planned outing.
It just makes me happy to hear her tell that. I mean, and again, that was our third tree lighting. I think third. I think third is the right
third
number.
I've been to.
Yeah, so I think it was only our third, right? So this isn't things that we've done forever.
It's all still
the
new.
Third one.
Yeah.
We just had our third parade. Along with, right? So we hadn't done a parade before. Everybody's, we can't do them. DOT won't let you. Well, I didn't ask DOT if we could do a parade. I called them and said, we're doing a parade. Okay. Well, there you go. So
here we go.
This is what we're going to do. So, again, creating those opportunities. And by the way, going back to the parade, I sent Mike an email, and I think he shared it, and he said, you said you saw it. That float and what your guys did, your crews did in our parade, I was blown away.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
We agree, and we had nothing to do with it.
No, absolutely nothing.
I know, but I told you, I sent Mike an email. I said, man, I don't know if you've seen it, but it was phenomenal.
Yeah, it's amazing. You give some line and some tools and free rein. And that's what you end up with.
Yeah, they worked really hard. But again, it's just that commitment to the community and building the community that, really drives those folks. And
I should go back and point out there were several other floats in there who engaged the city because of the campaign for the park. And hey, wait a minute, we're doing this too? Okay, now. So I've taken the responsibility, told our staff, don't worry about it. I will take the responsibility. We're going to grow this parade, and I'm going to go make people put a float in it to keep it getting big.
Plans are underway already for next year.
I guarantee
they're expanding what we're building on already. So just for a quick moment, if you can touch, I know we've talked about the park, but for somebody unlike, Eddie Plowden, who's been down there, I'm sure he's already been, scoped the whole thing out. I haven't actually had the chance to go by. What are some of the key highlights of the park that make it so transformational?
Well, until North Charleston builds theirs, it is the largest barrier-free playground in South Carolina, in the Southeast, in some district, right? North Charleston is building one now. We're certainly happy that they're doing that and creating more opportunities for kids to come together and play. And what I mean barrier-free is, and I'll just give you the story, and if you start crying, it's okay, because we all did. When we opened the park, we cut the ribbons and all that, and we're standing around and we're talking, and I looked over, and there was a little girl, maybe 6, 7 years old, in a wheelchair, on the swing with able-bodied friends, and they're swinging all over the place. And she had the greatest smile that you could ever imagine in your life. And I thought for a minute, and I don't know this to be the case, but I thought it's possible that that's the first time that child has had the opportunity to swing. Mm-hmm. And I said that to somebody else who's in the industry, in therapeutics. We are very committed to our therapeutic program in the city of Goose Creek. And she said, no, Mayor, it's highly likely that that's the first time that child has ever had the opportunity to swing. So the thing that drove the idea was a barrier-free park where kids of any ability can play next to one another.
Right.
And it's amazing what that creates for both.
Yeah.
And we've just seen the examples already, and we'll have a partnership with the school district. We already have, bringing their special needs classes out. But we told them too, hey, don't just bring the special needs kids. Let's bring everybody. A little bit of everybody. Right. And it's been amazing. Literally everybody involved, myself, our city administrator, our other council members, we drive by once or twice or 3 or 7 times a day as often as we can and to start texting each other going, the park is it's jam-packed. It's awesome. It's just been amazing. The next part that Eddie is we now have the best pickleball facility in the Charleston area. And why do we have the best pickleball facility in the Charleston area? Well, because I don't want to compete with everybody. Right. Right? Mm-hmm. And I pointed out, everybody, we need an indoor pool. Well, no, we don't. I mean, there's an indoor pool. I mean, it'd be nice if funds were unlimited. Okay, great. Right, But there's an indoor pool at Cane Bay. North Charleston and Dorchester, too, just collaborated on a $27, $28, $30 million aquatic center. There's a couple other indoor pools down in North Charleston. There are indoor pools for those who want one. Well, we need all of these other things. We need ball fields so we can host tournaments. Well, Moncks Corner has a great facility to host tournaments, and every other city has it. Yeah. So I don't want to compete with everyone, right? I wanted to have the best I want to be the pickleball capital of the Low Country, and it will have worked. I can tell you, we had our first tournament a couple of weeks ago. We capped it at 80 participants. Wow. Because we just wanted a one day. They wanted a one day. I say we. I didn't have anything to do with it. I don't actually do anything. Our staff said, all right, we're going to do 80. It's going to be one day. We had to have a waiting list. It was packed. Food trucks were out. It was a whole thing, man. It was a scene, as it were, back in the 70s. So that's just been really exciting to see that, take off. But part of that, too, part of that facility is also the Roper St. Francis KC Pavilion. Mm-hmm. Casey, after the original Casey community, who has been there for hundreds of years, and we wanted to recognize that community and their history in Goose Creek and in and around Goose Creek. And so we wanted to keep the name of the Casey community, and certainly, as I mentioned before, Roper's commitment and partnership with us to name that. But it's a multi-purpose pavilion. We'll have farmers markets and craft fairs and maybe a concert or two, or or pickleball. There's 4 pickleball courts inside of it. That's part of the facility. And then there's basketball on a small stage and a great field and some really cool swings and food truck court there for those kinds of things. Yep. Anytime we have an event, we can bring those out. Right. Yeah. It really has been amazing. I get Facebook is for the people who hate everything you're doing. And that's fine.
We wouldn't know anything about that.
Exactly. When you're at the grocery store and when you're filling your car up with gas, or that's when you hear the people who are willing to come up and say, "Hey, Mr. Mayor, that was great. I love what you guys did there," and that's always very, very heartwarming. And it's been phenomenal. In that part, you have to go. I mean, you have to go.
Go play pickleball with Eddie. Over lunch one day.
Eddie and I used to play racquetball together before we became a convert to pickleball. So I'm sure I'm going to have to, dust off a racket. Well, we'll go buy a new racket. I guess.
Paddle.
Excuse me. There you go. See.
Oh, I got him.
I already got to get the lingo right.
I got him. Yeah.
Well, Mayor, there's a lot of projects that we want to make sure we cover in this show, but let's briefly talk about electric vehicles.
It's a lot for you to edit later.
Berkeley Electric is trying to help add to the infrastructure for electric vehicles in our area. And Goose Creek was an obvious choice as our first public partnership. So, what's in it for the city for helping with this EV infrastructure and embracing this technology?
Well, that's a good question. I haven't really thought of it in those terms. What is it for the city? I don't know. It's a service to our citizens, right? Yeah. Being able to have those things there. And contrary to what people believe, they don't really cost us. The city's like, paying for people to, it's like $300 a year is what it's
right.
It's almost nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, Yeah, it's Post-it notes. It's almost nothing, but it's a service to our citizens.
Okay.
And that's the best thing. I can say, what does the city get out of it? Well, it's a service to our citizens, but it sets us up to be an example for lack of a better explanation. And what I mean by that is I believe in doing everything we can to advancing technology. You can get into a discussion about climate change and climate crisis and all of those things, and I'm happy to have a separate conversation about that and where people and I might agree or disagree, and that's fine. But what I certainly do believe is we need to continue to push the envelope in technology, because even if you don't believe that what we're doing is impacting the earth to the level that some others believe it is, wouldn't less still be better?
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
And don't you do better by continuing to push the technology envelope? I don't believe you get to where you want to be by saying, oh, you can't use that anymore. That's just out. Because we have an economy we live in, right? We are trying to have jobs and raise families and have a successful growing economy. And so you don't get from here to there by just shutting down production of one thing and saying, oh, that's bad, you're never going to use that again. But you do get there by promoting entrepreneurialism, by promoting technology, by investing in research, by doing those things and continuing to push the envelope. You don't know what you can do until you try.
Right.
We have a little saying at my job, at the one that paid my kids' college tuition, is that we'll try anything once. Well, sometimes you figure out you save a lot of production costs if we do it this way.
Yeah.
Every now and again you figure out, oh man, we just blew a $6,000 set of blades. Let's not do that anymore, right? But in that process, you figure out where you're going, and then you continue to grow and get better. And I think that being an example of recognizing the value of EVs, and I do absolutely recognize the value of EVs and want to encourage that. Are they the answer to every ill that we've ever experienced in the world? No. But they're a great opportunity to continue to push the envelope and grow to advance technology and to find what the next best thing is. I joke with people that I'm waiting for the guy or the girl or the company that creates the nuclear reactor that's half the size of this bottle that you plug in. That's what you plug into your car, and that's what runs your car, and until the wheels fall off, literally. But that's your power unit. I'm waiting for that to happen. Chances are one day it happens.
Right. Well, I can tell you for sure that I'm appreciative of y'all having the charging stations, because I borrowed our electric car one day to run down to the Goose Creek office, and I didn't plan it out very well. So I got down to Goose Creek and I started to head back up, and I was like, I don't think I'm going to make it.
This might be a problem.
This might be a problem. So actually I just grabbed lunch and pulled in and parked there at the town administrating center, and watched everybody walk around the lake as the car charged up for a little bit. And
enjoyed your lunch?
Yep, enjoyed my lunch, and then I was on my merry way. So.
Well, and again, it's a service to people in and around, and it shows that there's value to what we're doing. It shows there's value to EVs. You cannot have Volvo up the road trying to convert everything, and I don't remember the year, 2030 or 2035, trying to convert everything to EV production. Right. You cannot have Tesla now selling their whatever million cars. You can't have every car manufacturer trying to move to EV and not recognize the value of moving to EV. Yeah. There is a value there. Again, is it the answer to every ill? No. Nobody ever claimed it was. But does it push us to the next level? I think that's the issue. It pushes us to whatever's next. And, to create that infrastructure at the virtual nothing that it cost either of us, right, Berkeley Electric or the city of Goose Creek, to put that there as an option. I think it was easy, and it was a really great partnership, sort of to see the value of creating another opportunity to fuel our cars or fuel our lives, as it were.
So recreation is so important for you, and offering quality programming to our community. Some of the other big projects you've got coming up in Goose Creek, a new amphitheater, working on some renovations at the golf course, new fire station in Carnes. You've got Rob Wiggins, who's come on board for economic development. Lots of great things going on. Any closing thoughts?
Well, everything we want to do is to create opportunities for people to come together, to go from where they are to where everybody else is. And the amphitheater, The Joe Danning Amphitheater is certainly going to help us do that.
Mm-hmm.
We've also partnered in economic development. We partnered with a development that's going up out at Carnes to create green space in the middle of the project that will literally be a downtown walkable area. And so, we're doing those things to create that. Rob is going to have a lot of responsibility to help fill those things out.
Well, we certainly appreciate it. Well, it sounds like we're going to have a part 2 and invite him back again. So that'll do it for this edition of Power Talk. Thank y'all for joining us, and we'll see you next time.